John Hope Bryant, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path to the Middle Class. As the American dream fades for many working and middle-class citizens, John Hope Bryant's How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path to the Middle Class highlights the importance of lifting the lower-class tide to combat income inequality, financial instability, and declining upward mobility. The book emphasizes the relevance of financial literacy in eradicating poverty, the untapped potential in underprivileged neighborhoods that lack mainstream banking and retail services, and the significance of embracing good selfishness and entrepreneurship in the midst of alternative financial services. Bryant also offers insightful suggestions and strategies that can level the financial playing field, proving that the poor's brilliance and resilience have the power to save capitalism.
The power of the bottom. Inequality, lack of mobility, and the decline of the American dream are plaguing the U.S. economy. Politicians and business leaders who overlook the lower income distribution make a miscalculation. Consumer spending drives the U.S. economy, and the low-income class spends the most on living expenses. Walmart is the largest merchant because of the vast buying power of the working class. The poor are an untapped asset, and lifting them would raise all boats. Economic insecurity in the middle class spreads helplessness. Poverty is a permanent mindset for many. America's inner city represents the last bastion of lost capitalism. Opening doors to financial literacy. John Hope Bryant's book discusses the importance of financial literacy as a tool to empower individuals, especially those from disadvantaged communities, and the consequences of financial illiteracy. John Hope Bryant, an activist from South Central Los Angeles and Compton, California, understands the significance of financial literacy as a means of financial empowerment. He shares his story of inspiration from a white banker who visited his school and lent money to business owners. This led him to create Operation Hope, an organization aimed at improving the financial prospects of those making less than $50,000 annually. Financial literacy is not just a skill but a language that people must learn. However, knowledge about money is still a foreign concept for too many people. To illustrate this, the author points out that some 30 million African Americans have received no formal education in capitalism. Poor Americans often remain underserved by mainstream banking, retailing, and entertainment, limiting their chances to flourish. Financial illiteracy costs the poor in many ways, with many missing opportunities such as claiming earned income tax credit, a federal subsidy for lower-income workers leading to a loss of $10 billion per year. The author also discusses the consequences of poverty, with issues of individual self-esteem and confidence, community culture and belief systems, values, and psychological depression, and how they intertwine with good decision-making around money. Bryant believes that providing paid internships for every youth who achieves passing grades in high school may help eradicate the high school dropout epidemic in America. He recognizes that discussing poverty in America is perhaps even more taboo than discussing race. However, he advocates for opening doors to financial literacy, especially for those in underprivileged communities. Bryant wants to help disadvantaged people navigate the opportunities available to them, even in their own neighborhoods. Financial inequality in underprivileged communities. Traditional banks neglect poor neighborhoods, leaving them vulnerable to alternative financial services that prioritize their own profits. Financial illiteracy impedes consumers from distinguishing between banks and storefront companies. The disparity in wealth between middle-class blacks and their white counterparts, due to a lack of economic role models. The alternative financial sector, worth $321 billion, preys on bad selfishness and perpetuates financial disadvantage in underprivileged communities through services like payday loans, rent-to-own, and check cashing. Empowering underprivileged communities with financial education and job creation would address this issue. Ethical finance practices. There are some companies that practice ethical finance practices. La Familia Pawn and Jewelry in Orlando offers credit cards to its customers, while Nix Financial in Los Angeles charges low fees of only 1% to 3% as an ethical check casher. Union Bank of California purchased Nix Financial in 2000 to gain access to an underserved market. Union Bank tellers encouraged Nix Financial customers to open checking accounts, enabling them to cash checks at no cost. The Dignity Mortgage Solution. The American working class used to rely on homeownership as their way of establishing wealth. However, the subprime mortgage crisis threatened this lifeline, leaving only those with stellar credit and hefty down payments eligible for mortgages. To fix this, the Dignity Mortgage offers a potential solution. It would only be available to borrowers who make less than 120% of their area's median income and for properties valued at 95% or less of the region's median home price. These borrowers would need to complete credit counseling, take a financial literacy course, and show an ability to weather financial emergencies. This solution is vital for the long-term health of the U.S. housing market and the American working class's fortunes. The high cost of financial illiteracy. Financial illiteracy often leads to poor credit, trapping individuals in a cycle of poverty. Many individuals fall into the trap of using check cashers or liquor stores, which can further damage their already low credit scores. Boosting credit scores is essential for financial mobility, but it begins with teaching individuals financial literacy. While regulation is necessary, it all comes down to the individual's ability to make informed choices. By becoming financially literate, individuals can improve their credit scores, gain access to the mainstream financial system, and become dignified consumers and potentially wealth builders, breaking the cycle of poverty. The untapped brilliance of inner-city entrepreneurs. Millions of financially illiterate but ambitious low-income Americans reside in impoverished communities, where thriving illegal economies exist. Street criminals are not just corrupt and misguided death merchants, but entrepreneurial hustlers who engage in risk and reward, supply and demand, and marketing and branding. Redirecting their untapped brilliance could unleash a powerful wave of entrepreneurial energy in U.S. inner cities. Entrepreneurship from the unlikely. The creativity and resilience of the poor in American entrepreneurship. About half of the U.S. jobs belong to small enterprises, yet startups have dwindled to 350K in number from 400K. But there is hope for the entrepreneurial gap as the creative and resilient poor are emerging as a valuable source of entrepreneurs. The impoverished nurture better problem-solving skills than wealthier counterparts and exhibit an ability to bear challenging situations, making them a hidden gem in the economy. The lack of mainstream banking services and the absence of grocery stores in poor neighborhoods are major hurdles, but their indomitable spirit cannot be ignored. Starting a business made easy. Anyone can start a business without technical skills or deep pockets, only an ability to identify an opportunity and take advantage of it. Eric McLean, an African-American businessman, stumbled upon starting a mobile notary public business while paying $36 for a notary stamp. Within 8 months, he was generating $17,000 per month in revenue. Later, he branched into auto insurance and hired evening and weekend workers to cover the gap in traditional business hours. McLean established his companies without lenders or investors, and his ideas were simple with modest startup costs. Entrepreneurs in inner cities and rural areas can easily replicate McLean's models and learn from his opportunistic ethos. The power of role models in entrepreneurship. Inner-city youths lack suitable role models, making it challenging for them to achieve sustainable wealth. The author suggests that successful entrepreneurs must step up as mentors to provide guidance for underprivileged children. By doing so, these kids can develop a positive self-image and find opportunities to escape poverty and despair. Eric McLean's story highlights the importance of role models in entrepreneurship, and Bryant's father, who owned a business, served as his biggest inspiration. The article emphasizes the need for visible, active, and relatable role models to motivate and inspire young people to stay in school and pursue their dreams. Financial inclusion for a prosperous America. The book suggests strategies to level the financial playing field and foster economic growth in America. The author emphasizes the need for financial education, bringing all households into the banking system, improving credit scores in poor communities, providing tax incentives for homeownership, making the earned income tax credit automatic, creating incentives for internships, investing in infrastructure, spending more on education, and rewarding mentorship. The author argues that financial literacy is essential to navigate the complex financial system, and the federal government should fund it. They propose that policymakers should ensure every American household has a bank account and offer tax incentives for buying homes. The book also stresses the importance of raising consumer credit scores in impoverished neighborhoods and making the earned income tax credit automatic. The author calls for investing in infrastructure and education, which would create jobs and help the underprivileged. Finally, the book proposes rewarding mentorship and encouraging Americans to volunteer as role models by creating a tax break or incentive.
Bryant successfully advocates adopting a new perspective on poverty to combat the systemic issues affecting the U.S. economy. He emphasizes the vital role of financial literacy, good selfishness in entrepreneurship, and the urgent need to harness the potential of underprivileged neighborhoods. By focusing on empowering the poor, promoting entrepreneurship, and addressing systemic failures, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism presents a coherent and compelling roadmap toward rebuilding the path to the middle class. Ultimately, the book's central message is a call to action for politicians, business leaders, and individuals to adopt a more inclusive and empathetic outlook that can reshape the landscape of American capitalism for a more prosperous and equitable nation.